Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storme, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Brooklyn Storme. Thank you so much for being here today, and welcome to all of our new subscribers. I hope that you love this podcast as much as I love putting them together for you. And today I'm really lucky because somebody sent in a topic, and I love it when that happens because I love to be super helpful. And it's such a good topic. It's so juicy, and I think quite a controversial one as well. So without further ado, let's get stuck into it. Today's podcast is all about what is the etiquette on accepting clients from a previous organization that you worked at. Now, I'm just going to create a context for this and say that this relates to people who are subcontracting to organizations, to medical clinics, to other allied health practices for their business. And we'll answer it from that perspective, from the perspective of the subcontractor, and then we'll answer it also from the perspective of the business. And this is so important because it raises a whole lot of issues that have very important legal consequences, very important ethical consequences, and all that sort of stuff. So I guess the best place to begin is if you're a subcontractor, first off, look at your contract. You should have signed one. I wouldn't recommend subcontracting anywhere without one because you need one for your protection. You want to make sure that you understand the restriction of trade clause in your contract. So when you go and work at another centre as a subcontractor, they usually get you to complete some kind of contract or agreement. And as part of that, there'll be a whole lot of clauses. And one that's often overlooked is one about restriction of trade. So restriction of trade talks about two things. The first is setting up shop in the neighborhood. So if you want to leave and you terminate your contract with this organization, a restriction of trade clarifies for both parties, yourself and the organization, where you can and cannot set up shop. And usually a restriction of trade, while it varies, usually it will be about 15 to 20 kilometers. So that gives you some idea of how far out you would need to go away from the organisation that you were originally with if you're going to set up shop. But as I said, each contract's different, so check yours. I have seen some as low as 6 kilometres, which isn't very far at all, but make sure that you understand what your restriction of trade is there. That's the first thing. If you don't comply with a restriction of trade, then you can put yourself in a position where you're very susceptible to legal action. And depending on, a few things like how deep the pockets are of the company you've been working with, but also how vigilant the company directors are in terms of enforcing restriction of trade, you could find yourself, in legal hot water. So just be aware of that. And there's not much you can do about it because you've agreed when you signed with them. The second element or aspect of a restriction of trade talks about clients. Now, this is where it gets a little bit sticky. And I need to give you the overall context here. So when you're subcontracting to an organization, you are working for that organization. You are not working for the clients. All right. You are not hired by the clients. The client's not seeking you out. They're coming to a branded organization. All right. That has many subcontractors working for it probably. So that organization has the responsibility of marketing so that it can receive referrals. And when the referrals come through, they come through to the organisation, they have an intake call via the organisation, and those clients are allocated out to the subcontractors. Okay, so it's the organisation that is paying for the marketing, that is doing a lot of the legwork. A lot of the stuff happens that subcontractors don't know about in terms of generating referrals and generating work. A subcontractor's role is to turn up, see their 6 clients and leave. That's it. Usually, unless it's stipulated in their contract, they won't necessarily be involved in the marketing and things like that. So everything that happens is happening as a result of action that the organisation is taking. Therefore, those clients were attracted by the organisation as a result of the organisation's marketing and other activities, and therefore they've been referred to the practice, not to you as a subcontractor. The ownership of the client, and I know that's not the right word, but it's the word that gets thrown around. But for argument's sake, let's just use the word ownership. But the ownership of the clients is that of the organisation, not of the subcontractor. Now, the caveat to that, as you and I both know, is that at the end of the day, all clients have a right to choose who they want to work with. They might choose the organisation, or they might choose you if you decide to depart the organisation and go and set up shop somewhere else. Absolutely, they might follow you. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to have them follow you. But in terms of, I know owns isn't the right word, but I can't think of something else off the top of my head right now. But those referrals belong to the organisation because the organisation generated them. Those referrals do not belong to you, therefore you cannot take them. That means you cannot solicit. So soliciting looks like you've decided to move on and start your own practice. You're seeing out your current contract. You've given your 2 or 4 weeks notice or whatever period it is, and you're finishing up with your clients. You are not allowed to say to your clients, I'm leaving and here's a business card with my new address, with my new phone number. I've got a Power Diary or Halaxy or Acuity or whatever system you're using. Let's book you in an appointment for over there at my new place. You cannot do that. That is not legal and it is not ethical. What do you do when you're wrapping up and you're subcontracting to an organisation? What you do is you follow the policy that the organisation has. And organisations will have different policies. They will let you know what theirs is. So it may be that their admin take control of booking out the remaining appointments and notifying clients that you're leaving, and they will allocate those clients to another practitioner with that organisation. All right. And in your last session with the clients, you wrap it up nicely, you put a bow on it, you close off the loop of energy, and you say, it's been really lovely working with you. As you're aware, I'm moving on. You're going to be in wonderful hands here. Marjorie's a beautiful therapist, and I just know you're going to get along famously. Let me introduce you to her now. That's your role. Okay. Now, what happens if you do all of the right things, let's say, and a client says, well, I really want to stay with you, Brooklyn. How can I find you? I don't want to see anybody else. What should I do? In those situations, there's not much you can do other than be open and honest with your client. And you can say to your client, listen, if you wanted to come with me, you would need to notify admin or whoever and let them know that that's your intention. And then, of course, if the client wants to come and see you, they can. Absolutely, they can. You are just not allowed to invite them, encourage them, book them. You can't do any of that. Okay? That's sort of the long and the short of it. From a practice perspective, if you're the business owner and you're in a situation where you're worried about subcontractors or employees leaving and taking clients that were found or appropriated by the organization, what you need to do is make sure you have a really clear restriction of trade clause in your contract. If you don't, I would absolutely recommend you go and get your contract updated by your lawyer or by the person who put that together for you. The other thing I would do is have a really clear exit policy, and ensure that all subcontractors have read it and signed off on it, because this will provide your organization with protection down the track if a subcontractor, perhaps bends the rules a little bit or fudges the rules a little bit. And hopefully that never happens, but we know sometimes it can be a grey area. So by you creating clarity, it just will make everybody's life that much easier. So you would need to have in your exit policy what admin is responsible for in terms of closing off that subcontractor's workload, what admin is responsible for in terms of notifying clients, maybe have a template of any correspondence, emails, or text messages that you want admin to send to clients to notify them of the change, what's happening. You might want to organize for the person who's leaving, the team member who's leaving, to do a handover with the remaining therapists who'll be taking over the workload. So there's been a verbal handover. You might want to do things like, update things like access, the subcontractors or employees' access to things. You might want to even include, conditions around last payment, and make sure that things like any outstanding Medicare reports have been completed before you give the employee or the subcontractor their last payment, for example, if that's what's in your contract. So you can definitely, with subcontracting, you can definitely withhold the last payment until the work is completed, because you're hiring that subcontractor to complete the work for the business. Okay, so if they're going to leave you high and dry with a bunch of, not closed files, they're still open, they haven't closed them. If they're going to leave you high and dry with, empty files with no notes, because they keep their own notes on their iPad instead of putting the notes in the files, you withhold their payments until everything has been ticked off in accordance with your exit policy and procedure. So that protects both you, and by you being open and transparent with all your team, employees and subcontractors at the start of their work with you about these policies and procedures, it's just going to save everybody headaches down the track, because you'll all be in agreement, and things will just go a lot more smoothly. If you do find yourself in murky waters, then you've got a couple of options for both sides. Whether you're a subcontractor or whether you're the host organisation of the subcontractor, there are things that you can do. So, of course, you can contact your insurer. That's what they're there for. And you can ask for guidance and advice around that. If you're an employer and you're with a company that handles all your HR, you can speak to them and they will be able to advise you. Did I say lawyer? No, I haven't. If you have a lawyer, speak with your lawyer and get advice from them. You can jump onto Fair Work Australia and have a look there and see what's going on. If you've got employees under awards, then you would need to revise the award and have a look and see if there have been any updates, amendments or changes to things like exiting staff members and things like that. So both sides have responsibilities and both sides have obligations. But the thing that connects you both, although you might be in some ways in opposition, the thing that does connect you both is a shared goal of ethical behaviour and ethical responsibility when it comes to the appropriate management of your client. And so always be guided by your code of ethics, whether that's the Australian Psychological Society, AASW, ACA, PACFA, the Holistic Health Association, whoever you're with will have their own code of ethics. Allow yourself to be guided by that. If you're a subcontractor and you're still feeling unsure and unclear and it's a bit sticky, take it to supervision and get some guidance from, someone that you trust and who has your best interests at heart, and see how you feel about that guidance as well. So, and if you're an organisation, maybe speak to your mentor or your coach and get some guidance about what to do as well. So nobody really owns, in air quotes, clients. When we use that word, we're just talking about how the clients came to be. That's what I just wanted to clarify there. Make sure if you're leaving the business that you're not actively soliciting clients. If clients find you, they find you, and you can absolutely work with them. That's their choice. Okay. So I hope that this helps in terms of how do we approach this from the masculine and the feminine? Well, this is all about, first and foremost, your systems and processes. Therefore, it's masculine energy that you'll need to be leaning into on both sides, whether you're the subcontractor or the organisation. So you're going to be leaning into that masculine energy, reflecting and referring to your processes, policies and protocols, and following those to the letter. If there are any grey areas, you take action on that. Once you have those processes in place and they're understood and you're happy to work with them, then you can absolutely begin to deeper embody the feminine, all about the relationships, all about caring and nurturing and things like that. In fact, that's the overarching context, but without those frameworks in there, you're going to have a lot of drama. And that drama, look, if you've got an exit policy and you don't enforce it, well, enforce isn't the right word, you don't apply it or you don't invoke it, then things can go very, very awry. And of course, this wouldn't be a Private Practice with Soul podcast if we didn't talk about the inner work, okay? And so what I mean when I say this, when we're thinking about, is it okay to take clients, who has the right to retain them, who has the right to invite them to continue working, or the right to invite them to work somewhere else. I think it's really, 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 really a good sign for you to tune in, because if you feel in any way uncertain or unsure, that is a sign from the universe that things are out of alignment. There's a misalignment happening there. And the key to getting yourself back into alignment is going to be by anchoring back into your heart space, connecting back with your inner guidance and taking action from there. And so a really, really beautiful way of doing that is to simply, just settle your breath. You don't have to take big, deep breaths. You can if you want to. You can do some belly breathing, but just settle your breath right down. And, put your hand on your heart and close your eyes and just allow yourself to feel the warmth of your hand on the chest, and, breathe into your heart and ask for that guidance. Ask the question that you really want to know the answer to. Is it okay for me to take this action? What is the right action for me to take? Do you know what I mean? Ask the question and you will receive an answer almost spontaneously. In fact, almost before you finish the question, you'll receive the guidance. And then your only job is to act on that guidance. And when you do that, that's how you not only act in integrity with your soul, but you act in integrity with your ethics, with your responsibilities, and you live your purpose and you live authentically. And that's what you really, 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 really want, because I know so many of you share those values of authenticity, yeah? So, do go back at the first sign of anything feeling uncomfortable and allow yourself to experience that beautiful flow of guidance that comes from within, and take aligned action from there. And I don't think, in my honest opinion, I don't think that you can go wrong. Honestly, hand on heart, I can say that with you. All right, my lovelies. So I know this is a bit of it's a curly topic, isn't it? But I hope that it's provided support to everybody, regardless of your role. I hope that it's been of value. Just remember, when we're operating from fear, when we're operating from that ego mindset, or even if you're wanting to take clients with you away from another practice because you're in scarcity mindset, you're thinking, where am I going to find my own clients? You're bringing that scarcity into your brand new practice. And guess what you're going to manifest? You'll manifest an absence of clients if you take that scarcity mindset with you. So instead of that, become aware of what your mindset is. And if it's scarcity, play with the energy of, if I had a mindset of abundance, who would I be? How would I be showing up? What would I be thinking? What would I be saying? What would I be feeling? Really dive more deeply into all of that. Because here's the thing, even when you're first starting your practice and you get caught up in wanting to do all of the things and take all of the actions, and you're not getting the referrals, it can be very easy to go into panic mode. That fear kicks in, the anxiety kicks in, and then all of a sudden you're trying to keep yourself very, very busy by doing more and more and more. But you're not going to receive, there's no correlation between how much you do and the number of referrals you get. There's no correlation. Why? Because referrals come from your energy. So if you believe that there's an abundance of referrals and the right clients are out there waiting for you and they're on their way to you now, what does knowing that and believing that and understanding that now enable you to do? It probably enables you to get on with the business of getting the business ready to receive them. You are not going to receive while you are in your masculine doing mode. If you want to receive more referrals, inquiries, bookings, appointments, all those sorts of things for your practice, then you need to allow yourself to be in the receiving mode, which is the feminine energy. And I know it feels counterintuitive. You feel like, well, there's nothing happening, therefore I need to do something. No, there's nothing happening, therefore you need to go and take care of yourself. You need to nourish your body, nourish your mind, nourish your spirit, step away from the computer, step away from Facebook, step away from Instagram, just step away from anything digital. Go for a walk, move your body. The feminine energy likes to move. Move your body. Go and do a yoga class. Go and walk. Go and stretch. Go and do Zumba. Whatever you need to do, move that energy. Go and have a massage. Move the energy through your body. Go and eat something delicious. Drink something delicious. Smell something delicious. I love to play with my dog. He's just the best therapy, and I love playing with him. And so we'll just go outside and we'll roughhouse and have a bit of a tumble, and I like to chase him and then I'll let him chase me, and I'm just laughing, and then we sort of have a bit of a cuddle in the grass, and he lets me tickle his belly, and it's just so much fun. Then he gives me heaps of kisses, and then I give him heaps of kisses, and we're just lost in the moment because we're so loved up. And you know what it's like? It's like the best feeling. And when you're in that state, you're not thinking about work. And then, hey, guess what happens? You finally eventually do come back to the computer and you see you've got 2 inquiries. Think about times when you've received inquiries or you've come back to your diary and there's been a new booking in there. I bet you weren't at your computer when that happened. I bet you're off having a shower, or you were out in the kitchen talking to the kids or your partner while you were having a coffee or a water or a juice or something. You receive when you're away from the computer. So if you're not receiving, don't do more. Do something else instead. Go and move your body. Right? And of course, let me know how it goes. All right. Have a really, 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 really beautiful Wednesday. Thank you so much for listening. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. All right. Talk to you later. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.